thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I'm just going to ask some basic introduction questions. So please tell us your name.
Tommy Hill?
Tommy Hill.
Yes, sir.
So when and where were you born?
I was born in Austin, Texas in 1966 in November.
All right. What can you tell us about your parents, their names?
My mom's name was Mary Ellen Brown. They grew up in Clarksville, Texas, which was West Austin here. Her and my dad and my grandmother and great-grandmother.
And what were their names?
Mamie Walker, Mamie L. Walker, and Thomas Walker.
Did you have any siblings?
Yes, I had, so it was 3 boys and 3 girls. I had 2 brothers and 3 sisters. Now I have 2 sisters and 1 brother left. Yes.
And can you tell us anything about your grandparents?
My granddad was an abundant. I think he moved to Camp Mabry and became one of the lead supervisors over at Camp Mabry while I think it's somewhere near Terrytown, a little place called Terrytown in West Austin. And he was also in the war, World War I and II. He did fight in the war, and he became an abundant general, I believe, at Camp Mabry. So.
All right. So you said you were basically born and raised in Austin, Texas.
Yes, yes.
How many? Do you know when your family arrived in Austin?
Yeah, I think it was like 1860s, because I believe in like 1839, 1840 was like the first interracial, or I think they call it a mulatto, that came here to Austin. I think it was 1839, a 10-year-old girl, and she is believed to be the first African American here in Austin.
And what was her name?
Her name was Annie. I can't get her last name, but I know her first name was Annie.
So tell us about your ancestors that you have here buried in Oakwood.
Okay, let's go back, I guess the Baylors and Browns, which were here. My mom, one of them was my mom's brother. He ended up playing professional baseball for like 19 years and traveled all over. So we had people not only in Austin, but other areas as well. My mom was more of a homekeeper, I guess, a maid back in the early 50s, 60s. And my great-grandmother, basically, I guess it's North Lamar now, but I can remember listening to the stories about when and how we grew up here in Austin, and when we weren't allowed to come on this side of 35 because there was a migration of some kind of, 35 was the cutoff mark. But later, I guess in the 70s, I guess more people started moving over on this side. People said we've been pushed over, but more people was just moving over away from the water. But yeah, because Austin was, the stories that I've heard pertaining to Austin has been an old Republican town, and Austin wasn't supposed to be what it is today. We was just the capital, and I think the first time I seen the population of Austin was like 300,000 people here in Austin. That was like the late 70s, early 80s, somewhere up there.
So, do you remember the first time you came to Oakwood Cemetery? Can you tell me what that was like?
Yeah, it was my big mama's funeral, and it was totally different from what I see now. I don't know. Well, I remember being held. My hand was held by an uncle of mine, who's Mr. Overton, as you guys call him, one of the World War II vets. He was married to my Aunt Dorothy, and I remember I used to go stay with him right here on 11th Street, and we would walk everywhere, and we walked over here to the cemetery.
Do you remember when that was?
Man, it was maybe late 60s, maybe. Late 60s. I was like 5, 6 years old, maybe. But I remember, yeah.
You mentioned that it was, that things were different. Do you have any specifics of how things were different or what you remember?
Yeah, and I'm gonna bring up something. I remember I was on, I think it's called a Wesleyan, I believe, over in West Austin, and there was a Rylander store up on the hill, and I'll never forget that I was with my grandfather, and I remember there was a little white kid, and he was with his dad. He asked his dad, he pointed to his dad, he said, "Daddy," he says, "His dad," he asked, "Was I?" And his dad kind of like squeezed him by the arm, and I looked at my grandpa, and he wouldn't say anything, and as we walked outside, he says, "It's kind of like Johnson grass, you can pull it, you can cut it, but it's going to always be here because it comes back, because somehow." And I'm speaking on racism, and he didn't know, the kid didn't know, he just asked a question, and I didn't know, so I looked for a response from my granddad to ask because I didn't know, But like now, I mean, it's changed so much. I graduated from McCallum High School, and this was in '85. In the segregation, I went by choice. A lot of people got forced to go to McCallum because it was predominantly white high school, maybe 7% white, maybe 5% black. But I went there and I wasn't trying to show nobody. I was a great football player, but I loved my books, and I became student council president. And not only that, in 1981, as a freshman, and I'm an ugly guy, they voted me most handsome. It was a big beauty review in our high school, and they voted me most handsome. And I'm looking at all these people with different skin tones, and I'm like, how? And I've never been, I've never seen some of the things that's been said, and that's why I carry myself. If I don't see it, some things I have to see in order to believe it, and if it's not brought to me, it's not taught to me, then, hey, you just like me. So, but Austin's changed. I mean, man, so much.
So what was it, do you have any specific stories and like what it was actually like growing up in Austin and throughout the many decades?
To me, man, Austin is, I've been a lot of places when I'm going to college and stuff, but Austin probably is the most, now they say it's not safe, but it's the most safe, and everybody's not the same, and people don't realize that. I mean, there's black races, it's like there's white races, and and I was just able, and I've been blessed to be around people. God, I guess He just sent me in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? And taught me how to avoid things, and taught me how to just accept some things that I cannot change. You know what I'm saying? Only He can. Nobody can. I mean, you can't change. But it was cool growing up in Austin. I love Austin.
So was there? What can you tell us about the community? Was there a strong community? What was that like?
Yes, in my neighborhood, I mean, your neighbors took care of your kids. I mean, people down the street that, that knew you and knew your parents, and where you belonged to, they would send you home at the right time before it got too late, Sometimes you'll get a spanking from some lady down the street that's not your parent, and when you got home, your parent already knew about it, so they spanked you too, so they just kind of like took care of each other, each other kids and stuff like that.
What neighborhood were you in?
I was living right here where the baseball field is now in Leona. Our house used to be right there. There's no houses now. The University of Texas bought everything up this way, right by 19th Street Baptist Church. They used to be right there. This is where we're from right here. This is where and I remember we didn't have, and my mom said, she doesn't know, we didn't have, when I was a kid, we didn't have running water. We would use the outhouse, and this was in the 60s, of course, yeah, I got to meet a lot of people, and things it's just, like I say, some things you can't change, some things you just try to rearrange, but it is what it is and how it happened. But now the progression of humanity among people of color and people of, different colors, and I mean, we all come together now, and I see that in a lot of ways. It might not be moving as fast as people want, and people steady want to say, hey man, forget history. But I was always taught that a person with no history has no future. If you don't know where you've been, how you gonna know where you're going? So, and that's really one of the reasons I want to do this interview with you guys, because a lot of people don't know, and if you don't know, how can you be held accountable? Or how can you be upset at them because they don't know? Tell them, teach them, and what you guys are doing, and that's what you guys are doing, is teaching and showing people, hey, this really happened. Okay, but look now, look where we've come. So if you just want to stay in the past, that's where you're going to remain at. So,
do you have any memories of family reunions, gatherings, and if so, what were those like?
Yeah, family reunions, you know, black folks cook a lot. You know what I'm saying? That's what I remember eating everything's on the table. Yeah, and everybody, you knew who your people were. You knew that was your aunt, or that was your cousin, and it's changed, like I say, it's changed so much. Now it's hard, you know what I'm saying? First of all, to distinguish between fact and fiction. And some things are hard to believe, but now it's like the family reunion, last family reunion I went to was like in the 90s. And I know I have several cousins and, you know, other family members that don't know that I'm their cousin. I can look them in the face, you know what I'm saying? Now people are charging, like selling tickets to go to your own family reunion. And whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. It's crazy.
So do you know where your Oakwood ancestors are buried?
Yes, yes.
And do they have, does everyone have a marker?
No.
Is there a family law?
No, I have my grandfather, matter of fact, we just was able to purchase him. He's been dead since 95, 96, I believe. He's gonna be right here also. Plots dated back to the 1800s. That's right here. Yeah, so it's quite a few of us right here, and it's right on the side of this house right here.
Do you remember hearing any stories from your family members talking about some of those older generations? Like, how have your family members talked about, you know, their parents or grandparents?
Yeah, Big Mama actually moved on the other side of the state cemetery over here, and they used to tell us all kind of war stories. And my oldest sister that passed, they actually used to work here at this gravesite here. They used to work here at Oakwood. I don't know what she done. I don't know if it was a part of the city or a county job, but I was always scared to come to the cemetery by myself because of the stories I've heard, you know, pertaining to this one right here. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on some of those stories?
Yeah, there was I'm just a character they call Chicken Man, and they said if you can walk through here, sometimes you can see little, like, I guess, like chicken feet. And we would actually walk on the outside of the gate looking, and it'd be around Halloween time, or it'd be, you know, dust time, whatever. And we would always say we've seen somebody, or, you know, and the ghosts are here, you know. I mean, spirits, basically, you know. And do I believe in spirits? They said, do you believe in anything you don't see? Yes, yes. I mean, it's kind of like blind faith, but yeah.
Typically what happens at kind of older cemeteries is, you know, there's a lot of that notion that, you know, they're haunted, or that no one who's living kind of visits them. A big part of this project is kind of reminding people that even at Oakwood, which is the city's oldest municipal cemetery, that there's still descendants alive that care about the people who are here, and you know, continue to come out here and visit their family members and so forth. What is that experience like when you come back and you visit your family?
It's kind of like, it's basically like paying homage to the people that were here before you, that's no longer here now. I mean, it gives me, I come here a lot, you know, just sit down and talk sometime, and I get answers. I don't know how many people does that or feel I'm weird, but I get answers. Do I hear things? Yeah, you know, things do come to my mind. And it helps a whole lot. Understand, I mean, questions are answered sometimes they're not, but most of the time, for the most, yes.
So you just mentioned how kind of the process of coming here is kind of like paying homage, and in a sense, you feel like it's coming to, not necessarily coming home, but coming to a place that's familiar because you have family members that are buried here. So do you think if you could send a message to any of those ancestors, you know, what would you want to say to them?
Basically, what I would want to say to them is thank you, and thank them again, because without them, there would be no me. there will be a whole lot of people. Well, I'll just break it down like this. There's many questions that I would love to ask them, but most of them have already been answered. Because when they laid down, just like when they went back to the dirt, just like when we came from the dirt, you know what I'm saying? It's just, and it becomes a blank sometimes because you think about them like, man, it's like somebody died yesterday that you knew that was here before you, like an older sibling. And you wonder and you ask yourself, will I ever see him again? You know what I'm saying? And this is the place that you come and say, hey, okay, I'm going to see my brother, I'm going to see my sister. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's not visual, I mean, you see them in spirit. And
what would you want the next generation, the young people who are growing up, what do you want them to know and to learn regarding your experiences of life, regarding what you've heard about, you know, your ancestors? What would you like the youth to know about, as I said, your experiences about Austin, and what messages you want them to take to heart?
Basically, just stand 10 toes down on the floor. I mean, you got to tighten your butt. You know, everything is not going to be like we wanted. Everything, we're not going to, I mean, we can say, hey, we went through all this 465 years of slavery, and I want them to know, okay, we came that far. Why stop? Sometimes you might have to pause just to take a look and say, hey, wait, let me take a couple steps backwards and make sure I got this right. Because if you don't get it right and you get it wrong, it's going to just go straight to the generations that's coming after you. If you tell them something wrong, they're going to tell their kids, and kids going to tell their kids. So educating us on what happened then, what's happening now, and we can't say too much about the future, you know what I'm saying? Like they say, history and double syllables is his story. It's a story behind everything in life. You let your first step be the definition of your second step, I don't think you can go wrong. You know, I just want this to be right. This is my kids.
So you brought us some documents. Can you talk about what you have here?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, this is like an old newsletter that, you know, black folks used to have to read back in the day before the Austin American Statesman. And basically it has, and it also talks about the little mulatto girl I was telling you back as the first interracial person that was moved here in Austin at 10 years old with no parents. And it goes and tells you about, it shows, if you guys want to look at it, I mean, you see it's pretty old. I think this dates back to like it talks about Juneteenth as well. It has, let me read a little something right here I think I read. Okay, it says first Austin black newspaper appeared in Austin in the 1930s. So you think about it. So we didn't have television back then. We didn't have radios if you wasn't, you know, had enough money. And so this was the only way we can communicate or teach people what was going on in the world or going on here in Austin. This is also about Corpus Christi, a few black migrant towns here in Austin. But yeah, and I just, you know, if you guys want to look through it, talks about Fuller Sheffield. It's how long, I guess, I don't know if you know about Fuller Sheffield, the funeral home in connection. Yeah, it goes all the way back there. And these people was like in the 1920s, 1930s. So. David Chapel Baptist Church was probably one of the first black churches here in Austin. And they put these out.
So along with this, do you have any other physical documents or photos of your family that you or any of your family members still have?
Yes, one of my nieces I recently gave it to her. It tells a list from the 1800s all the way to the 1980s, I believe, of everyone that died in our family, and it tells the illnesses that was contracted from diphtheria. I remember my mom telling me all the kids in the family almost died because we had diphtheria. No one knew what diphtheria was, you know. Then you had the smallpox, you got the high blood pressure, you got the blood disease, strokes, and it tells whatever you died from or whatever their parents died from, it has the list of that. I'm going to try to bring you guys and show you guys that. We're going to get that. Yeah.
So you and your family, so you've done genealogy. If you've done it if you've helped with some of that work, what was that process like? Or have you heard stories about how it went? Was it difficult trying to find records?
It was difficult. Not some of the records, but just information on like why did Pawpaw die? He died from high blood pressure. Okay, now Uncle has high blood pressure. Is it hereditary? Yes, it is hereditary. Some of the illnesses that African Americans contracted, all of them is hereditary. You just don't get it out there like people think you do. It's hereditary, something that's in your bloodline, your bloodstream. And, I've been fortunate. I mean, everyone in my family, all my brothers and sisters, every last one of them is a diabetic and or has high blood pressure. And I don't have either. And I'm the last of the children. So I do, and I share my kids. I have a vaccination. I don't think you're old enough to have one, but it's a little shot that they gave. It's like, I guess, the booster shot, but this was back then, and it's still on my arm. So yes, yeah. And it was supposed to take care of your whole life,
As we talk about kind of the process of genealogy, it sounds like a lot of stuff has been passed down word of mouth. Your family members have told you, so forth. How would you like to pass down that information to the next generation?
Just exactly what you guys are doing right now. Some type of, what you guys are doing, you guys are passing it down. With me helping you, you helping me. Because someone else is going to see this video. Someone else is going to say, well, okay, even if it's one or two people, they're going to take, and look at it, okay. And I've seen on TV, I've seen a building like this, a little bigger, but when you come in some kind of way, you tap in, I guess, some kind of history number, and it shows you your family, and it's like, God, what can I think? Like a little chip. And all your information on your family history is on that chip, and you can come in, you can put it in just like like you're playing a gaming system, and it just show you as you walk through and you see pictures like on the television. They have different kind of monitors set up. It shows pictures of your ancestors and where you were born at and where you come from. And that's what people need to see. They need to know that. Like I said, if you don't know where you've been, how you gonna know where you're going? It's no way. No people with no history has no future.
From what we've talked about, is there anything that you can think of that you haven't said yet that you would love to share? Stories about growing up, your experiences with family, living in Austin, anything that comes to mind, just think about it.
Well, when I was playing college football, I got a scholarship to this little school, a small school, in a little town called Cisco, Texas. And Cisco back then was very racial. It was up near Abilene, Goldthwaite, Comanche, little country towns. And I'll never forget getting pulled over by a DPS trooper coming back home to visit Austin. And he told me, he says, take your ass back to Austin and don't bring no more back here like you. And I said in my mind, then I'm going to bring a whole lot of people back here, and then a whole lot of people are going to come to Austin. And true enough, I think like 5 or 6 guys moved to Austin. And they were from like places like Dallas, Louisiana, and Florida. And then we used to share stories, telling us it was the same. And I had one guy that, and my family is very religious. And I used to talk to this guy. He was a Muslim. He was a black Muslim, and he used to always tell me, hey man, everything is in your Bible. He had a Quran, I think it was, and I would always have my Bible. And he used to say, they're really the same. People just look at them in different ways. And I said, you know what? Everybody is really the same. We just look at each other different, and that's what it is about. If I could change anything, and this was a question, I told you I was in the beauty review, and I think this is what won me first place. It was a judge, it was a KLBJ radio station judge back then, and he asked me, he says, if you can change anything about your life, anything at all, what would you change? I told him nothing. Nothing. And he said, why? I said, God already, I'm just living, I'm just walking, I'm just going through a journey. Everything is where it's supposed to be at. Everything that's happened has already happened. We just don't know it yet. So when you go to trying to control something, now you can open people's eyes by information. Information is the best, it's better than TV if it's true information. But a lot of things going on right now, I take them and I hug them and tell them, man, you only got one of these things called life. Everybody that laid down last night didn't get up this morning. So take it in as it is. I mean, take it and learn. And that's what I do. I just try, I mean, if I feel like it's correct, and I do my research, because there's a lot of things out there, like the Bible that says 1/3 history and 2/3 prophecy. Prophecy means a foretelling of an event. And that's all we're doing. We're telling you, people that was before me, they're prophets. My grandmother, they're my prophets. You're going to be a prophet when you pass to your kids, because see, we're telling things that's already happened. So.
Jennifer, do you have any other questions?
So many.
Yeah.
So, do you remember much about Clarksville? Did you spend time in Clarksville?
Yeah, I was just young. Yes, I do. And Clarksville was a very rich part of Austin, and a lot of blacks worked for white families. I remember my grandma breastfeeding some little white kid, and I'm saying to myself, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm saying to myself, back then it was nothing. Kids don't know. I mean, like I say, racism and hate is taught. You know what I'm saying? We don't volunteer for it. They don't volunteer for it. You know what I'm saying? There's something that's instilled, and that's where you get your food, your clothing. So they tell you got to believe this, and most likely they're gonna have to believe it. But yeah, and in Clarksville, it wasn't as bad until you came on this side of Austin. It wasn't bad. To me, it wasn't. Except that one kid. That was the only time I've ever been called N-word in my life, and I wasn't 6 years old yet. Even when I got to high school, never. So.
Did you go to church with your family in Clarksville?
Sweet Home Baptist Church, yes ma'am. Yes ma'am.
So Reverend Jacob Fontaine is also there.
Yes ma'am. Fontaine's, yes, know all of them, yes ma'am. The Washington, yeah.
Are you related to Mary Baylor?
Ma'am?
Are you related to Mary Baylor?
Yes ma'am. All the Baylors, yes ma'am. Don Baylor.
Your great aunt, your grandmother?
That's my great aunt. Yes ma'am. Yes ma'am.
She had a huge influence
Yes
in
ma'am.
America.
Yes ma'am. I'm gonna call her name out. From her, my Aunt Dorothy, matter of fact, Miss Kendrick. And I think you said she's here and here right now. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, all the Baylors, it's Baylors, Browns, and the Kendricks and the Hills that mainly in Clarksville, yes ma'am. I know a lot of stories, Joanne, yes. And they have a lot of, and I haven't been over there in a long time, a pretty good while, because it's changed so much. Even like a lot of people think Baylor Avenue, they think that was named after Malcolm when he made Most Valuable Player, but it wasn't, So Treaty Oak, all that stuff, that's a lot of history down in Clarksville. I ain't talking about the hills we used to, man, yeah. I remember getting ran over by a car in Clarksville, and the lady that hit me picked me up and just set me on the side of the road, like set me back on the curb and drove off.
How old were you?
Maybe 7, 8 years old. On Christmas Day. Yeah.
What does your family say about that?
I never went to the hospital.
Yeah, okay.
Never went to the hospital. Back then we was built like road. We was tough, But yeah, I remember getting hit. Actually hit. Yeah. So.
Did you change churches when you moved over to this neighborhood?
Yeah, when my grandma and grandpa went to Camp Mabry, they found a friend of theirs found a church called Hewlett Avenue Baptist Church, and that's where we started going mostly to Hewlett Avenue. Yeah, Reverend O.S. Davis, he was from, I don't know where he was from, but I know he was old. And matter of fact, we still have a house right across, we have 2 houses across from Hewlett Avenue Baptist Church, and they're still there today. And some of my cousins, they live there now. So.
What part of town do you live in now?
I moved out toward Maynard, Weberville, which, was also a black community out there. We bought a lot of land out there and was able to just stay out there.
Do you have any memories of your grandparents you would share?
Yeah, I remember going, my grandma, she used to fish a lot. She fishes, when we was in Camp Mabry, they had a little pond, lake in Camp Mabry. And I used to always get excited go watch her fish and catch a fish. And I remember one day she got mad at me. She goes, "You're scaring all the fish away. You're scaring all the fish away." And so I went to the other end of the pond. I started throwing rocks in the water. Oh, she was livid. And she came up there and she was shaking me. She goes, "Why are you throwing rocks in the water? You're scaring the fish." I said, "Well, Grandma, you told me I scared the fish away, so I was scaring them back up towards you." And she just hugged me and just sat there the whole time, just hugged me. And that's one of my fondest memories, yeah.
Can you tell us more stories about your cousins and your aunts and uncles?
Yes, Don, I remember watching him, and I think it was a lot of Major League Baseball scouts and coaches. They would come over to West Austin, and they used to have this big old tower, and they would watch him hit the baseball over the tower. And he would have been the first black football player at the University of Texas, but he wanted to play baseball. He was great. He was all state in football and baseball. And they told him no, there's no blacks allowed on the baseball team at that time. And so instead of going to college after high school, he went straight to the major leagues and played 19 years. He managed the Colorado Rockies to their first pennant. He was the first coach ever for the Colorado Rockies baseball team when they got into Major League Baseball. He was most valuable player in 1977, where he played with Raw Carew and Reggie Jackson. Won the World Series with the Minnesota Twins. Yeah. And so that's how we were able to just keep up. You know, he's always been the pillar of our, family until he passed. But, yeah.
Any other stories about any other family members?
Uncle Overton, he used to tell stories, and he was a great man. And I used to cut the yard where him and my aunt lived, right here on 11th Street. The house is, I don't know if it's a historical landmark or not, but it's something there. But he had a whole lot of stories about the war and stuff that he went through here in Austin, trying to get a job after the war, and I remember they had a little theater called the State Theater downtown, and we would try to go to the State Theater. Sometimes they let us go, sometimes they wouldn't. So they built a theater here called the Harlem Theater on 12th Street, and so we would go there. So 11th Street has a lot of historic, features in it right now. But the black church and barbershop probably was the main two things, growing up that I really enjoyed.
Which barbershop did you go to?
East End Barbershop, right there on 12th Street, yeah. That was for a long time.
Was it only men in the barbershop?
Yes, then it was only men, yes. Yeah, the shoe shine guys, yeah, it was only men, yeah.
So Mr. Overton, is that Volma or Richard?
Ma'am?
The Overton gentleman, your uncle, was that Volma Overton or Richard?
Richard, yes.
He had several brothers.
Yes, ma'am.
So did you know all of their families?
No, I didn't know all of them, because I have to say I was young. I was one of the youngest. Even when I got old, I had moved away to go to school. So, and that's the time I should have been paying more attention to them, but I was in college trying to develop my own family and, our history.
When would your parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles tell you family stories? Would that be over a meal, Sunday meal, or would it be? Usually
the reunions, we would go to the parks and we used to go to the parks and have picnics or something, and they'll get to talking. And I don't know, back when I was younger, you couldn't really sit around grown folks, They'll tell you, hey, you need to go get in the child's place, When they were talking their business or whatever. So there's a lot of things that we got shut out from as being youngsters, Sometimes we just ear hustle and learn as we go,
So, are all your, Mary Baylor's buried a little bit more over here. Mm-hmm. Are most of your relatives within that few lots right over
Yes,
here?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have anybody else that's buried in any of the other cemeteries around?
No, just my mom and my dad are actually in Cedar Creek, because that's where my dad part of the family. This is all my mom's people side of the family, but yeah, in Cedar Creek, which is another place where mostly, a lot of black people bought land back then. That's where they bought a plot back there.
Do you have any stories about that side of the family?
No, not too many, no. I know my dad played, when he was in baseball for like 50 years. They did a story on him on the news one day, and yeah, he played for a long time.
And what was his name?
Andrew Hill, yes.
Can you tell us where you went to school?
Ma'am?
You went to McAllen High School. Where did you go to elementary school?
I went to Maplewood Elementary School. Went to Maplewood, then I went to Lamar Junior High, Blanton, and then to McAllen. Yes.
Tell us about your football days.
Well, yeah, I will. As a freshman, I guess, sophomore, I went to McAllen and decided to play football. They told me junior high, they told me I was too small. So they sent me back to Little League to play football, in which I was a small kid. So by the time I got to high school, 9th, 10th grade, I got fast, I got real fast. And I ended up leading the whole Austin, citywide Austin in rushing. I was 125 pounds. I think I ran for like almost 1,500 yards. And so then it came, and I got all district, and a lot of teams started looking at it and saying it's too small to play. Senior year, same thing. That's how I ended up getting a scholarship. I got several scholarships, but I want to play against the competition. Like the teams that I want to play with, they had lost a lot of games. I want to play against the teams that beat them. And we ended up doing that, and it was like a big feat for me, though. I ended up getting, like I say, all district honors, Sonic Player of the Year, Channel 24 Player of the Year, Channel 3. I think Hugh Lewis was a newscaster back then. But yeah, I have a lot of awards. As a matter of fact, I went to the library, I guess over here off of Guadalupe somewhere. They have a library where you can go to get the Austin American newspapers, and I'm also in there, and a lot of articles in there on me. If you ever go there, and you can look them up. Look up Tommy Hill, 1984, 85, and you'll see all my records and stuff. Some of them stand, some of them got knocked down, but yeah, my kids love to go because they never believed me. Yeah.
Tell us about your kids.
I have a son who works where he's a director now at Habitat for Humanity. I have another son who's a sheriff in Harris County, and I have a daughter that's in the medical field. And so that's pretty cool. And I have my son, actually, that's what Habitat is getting married on December 22nd of this year. So yeah, so I'm pretty proud of them. Yes, ma'am, I'm pretty proud of them. Yes. And I have three beautiful grandkids. And yeah, they're my world. Yeah.
So what do you think your ancestors would like to tell your grandkids?
Not so much as what they've been through, but rather just be you. Just be you. I mean, you're taught already, you know what I'm saying? They teach you a whole lot. And then like they talked about, I would want them to tell them about the books that they read. I mean, it's a lot of books out here that we read that holds no benefit to us. It's for us, they really don't. And we're steady wondering like what ifs, what if we were never slaves? What if we never, nobody knows that. Like I say, it's a journey. I mean, and I think they just want us to take it as it comes and deal with it. And it's only gonna make you stronger because we're still here. You can say like God told me over 110 million people died in the holds of slave ships being brought here, from Africa. Over 110 million. So, and I ask myself sometimes, I wonder what happens when you die. Are you still heard? Are you still thought of? I mean, and I think some people like, man, I just go day for day. If I wake up in the morning, like I say, everyone that laid down last night didn't get up this morning. And I feel either we're some of the lucky ones or not. I mean, so.
What's a hope that you have for your grandkids in the future?
I hope they be able to accomplish whatever they set out to and allowed to believe in what they believe in. allowed to do what they want to do. And not only that, and be colorblind. Just because my eyes are closed don't mean I'm asleep. And I just want them just to be able to just visualize whatever you want to do, you can do. Whatever you want to forget about, okay, forget about it. Just be you and do you, you know. Like I say, we only have one of these things that they call life. I mean, a lot of people play with their life every day. I'm from running a red light or doing something and know it can cause them to close their eyes and never open them up again. We don't have anyone, so I haven't seen anyone that died and came back, you know, like I said, I haven't seen my mom, you know, she's been gone a while. I've seen her come back and they say, when you die, you're gonna come back. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are starting to believe that, and you see that in life today. People are just not taking it for what it's worth. They're not protecting themselves. And you see, I mean, if you jump off a bridge, you know, you're gonna die if you hit the ground, you know. If you run a red light, you're really throwing the dice. You don't know if you're gonna die or not, you know what I'm saying? And same thing with just live. Just live.
When you come to a cemetery and you have that chance to visit ancestors or loved ones, you're able to kind of stand back and think about things a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes it's difficult for people because, you know, it can be difficult to think about mortality. But sometimes, like you said, being able to be in a space where you can visit your ancestors and think about, you know, life, how precious it is, and things that we want to kind of take us forward doing. So what would you like to do going forward? Do you have any hopes, dreams, things that you want to do?
I would like to educate. I would like to give people an idea or give people a true meaning of history. I mean, this is what's happened, but you can't stand on it too long because that's where you're gonna remember. That's where you're gonna remain at. I want to be able to, like what you guys are doing right now. You guys are educating, you showing us. I mean, you opening up a lot of eyes that was closed before that didn't know what was going on or didn't know about the good times. You know what I'm saying? They only concentrated on the bad times. But sometimes the bad times gonna take you to the good times. You know, I mean, I didn't know pain until I got pinched. You know what I'm saying? So you just gotta, like I say, educate them, let them know. I mean.
If you could go back and visit any of your ancestors of any time, whether they were alive when you were alive or not, who would you like to go visit with?
Probably my mom. My mom.
Is she buried here?
No, she's in Cedar Creek with my dad.
Got it.
Yes, But you know, when I come to this grave site, I talk to her because her mom's right here, my grandma's right here. I bring my mom's picture and I set them out there and let them all meet with each other and stuff like that, yeah. So. Well, I think I've said enough. My grandkids, they talk me to death every day, and I try to educate and teach them, and they know a lot. I mean, she's only 6, my oldest is only 6 years old, and she's very smart and articulate, so.
So, even just like Jennifer was saying, if you could say something to maybe a relative 100 years from now, what would you want them to hear from you?
Give life a chance. I mean, every piece of action doesn't deserve a reaction. And love yourself and others as you will yourself. And this will definitely bring me back, and I'll bring my grandkids next time I come here, just if it's for a visit. Yeah. I want them to say, yeah.